Hi, my name is Nadia. I live in Ireland, which is not usually like this. Record-breaking weather we're having right now. I feel like it's been a while since I've been in front of the camera, so I feel a bit out of practice. The fact that I have a microphone means that I feel like I'm not looking at the camera. But yeah, we'll see how the microphone changes the dynamics of this video. I needed to record a video this week and I felt it would be kind of criminal not to sit out here and do it and lock myself into like a dark room and do it somewhere there. Having said that, I have no idea how to like balance light in a sunny place, so this could look and sound awful, but we'll see. Hopefully you can get a little bit of the birds singing as you're listening to me. I hope. They are obnoxiously loud at this time of year. Actually, what got me into birding in the first place was the fact that the birds in my garden need to be heard. Like, they're so loud. I also wanted to take advantage of this very sunny weather to talk about my spring-summer plans. I'm not usually a big summer knitter, primarily just because of the climate that I live in. You wouldn't be able to tell from how beautiful it is today, but we very rarely get a very consistent summer in Ireland. When we do get beautiful days like this, I feel like I am prioritizing wearing, you know, more summery clothes than knitted pieces. I think like I want to be busting out my linens and my summer dresses and, you know, wearing the things with short sleeves that I don't get to wear for the rest of the year. So I tend not to gravitate towards summer knits. Having said that, it does feel a bit strange to be knitting with, you know, wool and mohair at this time of year, and, you know, I don't live in a vacuum. I see all of the beautiful patterns on Instagram. I see everyone knitting summer pieces and it gives me massive FOMO. So every year I am tempted to dip my toe into the spring summer knitting. But I want to be realistic about it. I don't get the most joy from summer knitting. I think winter knitting is where my heart is at. And if you're around long enough to remember my spring summer knitting plans from last year, you know that I think I knit like 2 or 3 things from that very long list of inspiration. So yeah, let's try and be realistic and at the same time just gather a couple of cute patterns to look at and cute ideas. Okay, I'm gonna get right into it. I'm gonna try and break my 1 hour long video streak. The first category is socks. Not necessarily screaming spring summer, but I think I'm going to be traveling a lot this summer, so I think that socks are a really nice portable knitting project. And yeah, I've just been seeing a lot of like cool girl socks that have been grabbing my attention recently and that I've been really wanting to knit up. I did actually start with my tabby socks for tabby shoes. I recently bought a pair of Margiela tabbies, and I'm very excited to start knitting up some socks. Some very beautiful socks to go with my beautiful shoes. These are beautiful. These are made out of a Life in the Long Grass hand-dyed sock yarn, and I've been really enjoying the very moody colours. This is my first sock. I'm 99% done, but I do actually need to rip back the entire tabby section just because I ended up knitting them a bit too long. I used a recipe on Ravelry that you just add on to your regular sock pattern, and I think I just knit for slightly too long on the foot of the sock before I started the split. It's the wrong foot. But yeah, I don't know how much you can see this, but I've got quite a lot of bunching here. I've got quite a lot of bunching along the body of the sock, so I do just need to rip back and redo this section, but it was relatively easy to do, so no concerns. And yeah, I'm super excited to have these done. I will need to knit the other sock though before I can call them done for real. And in that vein, I've been doing a lot of research on Simone Rocha, Miu Miu, a lot of that like sort of like freaky shoe and sock combinations. I mean, it started because I don't know if you've seen that reel by Old Loser in Brooklyn. Weird socks, weird shoes, compression socks, like all of these different like weird shoes for weird girls like compilations that she's been doing. And yeah, I've just been stupidly inspired by that. So I'm not about to run out and buy myself, you know, $300 Simone Rocha socks, but I will knit them. And I'd really love to knit some socks with weird shapes or weird cutouts is kind of what I'm going for. Miu Miu socks that have come out recently with the little cutoff. I think they look really good with, you know, like a very open shoe that's like shows a lot of the top of your foot, and then the little cutoff sock that goes with it. I actually DIY'd a pair with a pair of black socks myself by just, you know, just cutting it off and wearing them just like that. But I think those are very easy to knit. I don't think you need a pattern. It's literally you knit most of a sock top down and then you just stop. You could do an I-cord bind off, you could do a ribbed bind off, but yeah, I think this is a super easy DIY to do with knitting. I did pick up some Drops Fiesta, which is, they have some really cool colors, and I picked up literally the most boring of the colors, but I think it's in the name of cool girl socks. It's a DK Wake sock yarn that I was just very intrigued to try. It does just kind of feel like Drops Nepal, but it has nylon in it, so it will be good for socks, and I think this will help me bash out a couple of cool girl socks very quickly. So yeah, so the Miu Miu cutoff ones are super cool. If you've also seen these like Simone Rocha circular cutout socks, they're very emblematic of her style, and I think they'd go with so many different types of shoes. Thinking like a brogue, a loafer, a ballerina, any sort of sock, any sort of like low top shoe I think would work super well. Yeah, these are just very exciting to me right now, and it's something that I haven't seen a pattern for on Ravelry or anything. I did a deep dive the other day. I actually spent a long time in the like socks other category trying to see like the weird type of socks that people have written patterns for, and I couldn't find anything with this sort of big circular cutout. So I think I will try and draft something myself, and if it goes well, if you're interested in knitting that along with me, do let me know. I think it could be quite fun to do a cool girl sock cowl. I know Hanan is doing her boring sock cowl, and I don't want to take away from hers, but yeah, I'm definitely going in the other direction of not boring, interesting socks. At the same time, I think using a lot of solid colors and boring sock yarns. So yeah, maybe I could just join her cowl. Maybe that would make more sense. And then finally, I've been seeing a lot of colorwork socks that I really enjoy. But I do think that like stranded colorwork socks are not for me. I think if you've seen Florence Miller talk about colorwork socks and how scary they are, like I'm just like, I'm not about that. I'm not, it pains me enough to spend this much time knitting something that's going to go on my feet and felt almost immediately. I'm certainly not going to be doing stranded colorwork and trying to manage gauge and tension and not having it too constricting on your foot. Like that whole thing I'm not about, but I do think that intarsia socks are super exciting. This pair is sort of the original pair that inspired me to do this with the little dots. I think the color combination is gorgeous. I think you can also do cute things with bows and other sort of simple designs. Yeah, I think an intarsia sock is in my future. I do think I need to expand out my single color sock yarn collection though, because I think that we all tend to gravitate towards the more variegated ones, and that doesn't work quite so well in this style. I mentioned it before, crochet socks, lace socks, you know, some very simple colors but some very intricate designs I think are really awesome fashion accessories, especially with a statement shoe. Yeah, I'm all about the socks this season. Okay, moving swiftly on, crochet is something that I really want to get into this summer. I've been saying it for forever. I think this summer is the time. A couple of like my winter knitting inspiration things I talked about, filet crochet as being something that I really want to get into this year, and I'm still aiming for it. I've seen that like a lot of people are into the filet crochet this year. It's really sort of hit a, I don't know, is it that like Bader Meinhof thing where you know, you see it and then you learn the name and then you start to see it everywhere because you've learned the name of it. Maybe it's that. I've seen so many girlies try out their filet crochet this year and I want to get on board. I have actually decided what pattern I want to start and try with because I do want to try with a pattern. I think that will be easiest for me. I found this one on Etsy. The only thing I will say about it is that I couldn't figure out from the Etsy listing what or just like any information about the pattern. I think we're quite used to on Ravelry just having like all of the details written down, but on Etsy there's less standards in that way, and I couldn't find any information about like how much yarn it used, what kind of yarn, etc, etc. But because the pattern was €4 something, I just ended up buying it. And I was hoping I might be able to use my drops bell that I have a lot of. Having bought the pattern now, I do see that it's a fingering weight cotton, so I don't really have the yarns and stash for that currently. But yeah, I'm really excited to try this year. I really want this, oh hello spider. I really want this to be the year that I learn crochet, and yeah, I think this in white or in black over a swimsuit in the summer with some little biker shorts underneath, I think would be super cute. I think I mentioned last year as well in my spring summer plans that I never got round to the Le Pull net trousers. Yes, this is knitting, but it's a very similar vibe where it's sort of like a net mesh thing. And yeah, I think those in a black cotton or, you know, like mercerized cotton or something like that would be very layerable. I think very workable for an Irish summer. You can wear a jumper over the top, you know. You can have leggings on underneath. It doesn't have to be sort of like 30-degree heat to enjoy the summer vibes. But yeah, some mesh, some crochet mesh, some knit mesh I think is in my future. I was really psyched to knit a crochet water bottle holder because I bought 2 Yetis last year. I bought some Yeti water bottles that I've been loving using for traveling and I've just been loving having everywhere. But I did want something to just use as a sling so I don't have to carry an extra bag and worry about how big the bag is compared to the bottle, etc, etc. And I desperately tried to crochet, to sort of make up my own crochet pattern. I think if you know the slightest thing about crochet, it's probably incredibly easy to do. But me and my knitting focused brain just couldn't do it. So I self-drafted. I will put it up on screen because I don't have it with me right now. I self-drafted this crochet water bottle holder out of, I think it's called like Lang Yarns Amalfi. And I'm in love. It's perfect. It's everything I needed it to be. I figured it would stretch quite a lot, so I made it initially a lot smaller than it needed to be, and then as you're wearing it, the water bottles, they're very heavy, so I knew it would sort of drag down and stretch the straps and things. But yeah, I'm delighted I made this little thing, and I would actually like to learn crochet so I can make a crochet version and do a bigger version for my bigger water bottle. So I have 2. I have the 0.8 litre, 0.75 litre, something like that, and then the 1.2 litre. I think those are the sizes. I don't know. I have some water bottles and I need some holders for it. If you remember from last year as well, I had a dilemma about whether I wanted to continue knitting this. This is a Le Pull something skirt in a drops mercerized cotton that I started knitting 2 years ago and never finished, and I was conflicted about it because it had some mistakes and I didn't know if they were super visible or if they were going to bother me, and I'd knit quite a lot, like I'm most of the way through here, so yeah, I didn't know whether I was going to continue with it. Upon reflection, I think I will frog it just because the mistakes are annoying enough that, I just, like, if you look here, it's such a simple stitch that you just really want it to be. It's like the main attraction of the skirt. So yeah, I will frog this, and I think I will use at least some of this yarn, this Muscat drops mercerized cotton, for another water bottle holder because I think that will be cute with my bottles. And I posted about this on Instagram. I fell in love with this jumper on this guy, who I just like copy all of his outfits all of the time. I think he's incredible. He does a lot of like DIY, almost like haute couture kind of Instagram reels and things like that, and he's just hilarious and amazing. And he was wearing this zippy jumper, which he actually DM'd me after I posted about it and said, oh, I got it on Vinted, I don't know where it's from. I did actually, I think, ID it on some kind of vintage website, but yeah, it's like a 90s crochet jumper that I cannot buy, but I can recreate, and I would love to recreate. I think the stitch, oh no, I learned what it was called. It's a type of crochet. Oh no, what is it called? God, I have no idea. It's a type of crochet where you like sort of set up 2 hooks and then anyway, it will be up on screen. And I found a couple of patterns that I think, could help me imitate it. I think it's like one of those stitches where you just do the stitch a couple of times and then like that's the piece. and then from there I'd probably pick up and knit some, just some ribbing and some shaping and try and make it actually resemble something that fits my body. But yeah, it would be very improvised. Oh, it's really annoying me that I can't remember the name of the stitch. Anyway, it's a type of crochet that I think would be really fun to learn. I think at the time I was just kind of like, I'm overwhelmed. I can't take this on right now, but I really, really want to recreate this zippy jumper. I think would be so cool. And yeah, moving away from crochet, but still in the zippy jumper realm, I'm really into these like little close-knit zippy jumpers with hood, cotton jumpers. I have one that I thrifted, and I'm really excited to make the Vivian cardigan by, is it Kiss Kiss Rhinestones? Is that her name? The Vivian cardigan is gorgeous, and I've actually had it on my radar for a while. It's 2x2 rib, it's zip up. It used to have quite a limited size range, but I am currently testing her Alma sweater. I say testing, but I think I'm like way over the deadline and just actually not helpful at all. But I'm currently knitting her Alma sweater, which is supposed to be released soon. And I was chatting to her about the Vivian cardigan, and she said that she is expanding the size range, which I think is really, really good. I think previously it was just maybe a small, medium, and a large, or only 3 sizes, which was sort of holding me back from knitting it. I'm not, the world's biggest champion of knitting size inclusivity. I think it's quite nuanced. I also don't think I'm the best person to talk about it because I think I'm literally the most common size. It's probably why I struggle to test, but I'm like the 3rd or 4th size in most patterns, which is like bang in the middle of the road. So I'm not like the best judge of whether things are inclusive or not, but I do know that it's important to a lot of people, and it does sort of hold me back from casting on certain patterns by certain designers. So yeah, so I'm happy that the size range is being expanded, and yeah, I'm just really excited to have this. It's sort of like, I don't know, it's like an early 2000s kind of 90s knit, which as somebody who was born in the 90s and lived through early 2000s fashion, I feel often very conflicted about bringing these pieces back into my wardrobe, but just through, what's it called, exposure bias, confirmation bias, just by way of seeing it all the time, I think these things have sort of crept into my fashion taste. A couple of things which I mentioned last year, which I'd still really, really like to knit. I have some, oh, I don't have it with me. I have some drops cotton merino in a lovely dusky blue color, and I think that would be awesome as a wrap cardigan in a like very, baby core, ballet core kind of vibe. I'm really into the wrap cardigans at the moment, or like close fitting cardigans. So yeah, I would love to cast that on at some point. I think the drops cotton merino is something that is mentioned quite often as being a god tier summer yarn. Yeah, I would like to get that yarn out of stash. Last year I was very intent on knitting the typical Thursday top out of the Knitting for Olive cotton merino again. I think I have it in the ochre colorway, which I thought would make an awesome typical Thursday top, because you could wear it as a vest by itself, but I also think over a white t-shirt or something like that, it can kind of become like more of a vest rather than a just a tank top. and just the, you know, the button details. I think it's very on trend, and I still think that from last year, so I would definitely like to knit that at some point. I do have space soon in my life for another fingering weight knitting for Olive project. Last year I talked about casting this on. This is essentially me trying to be Laura Penrose and knitting a sibling t-shirt, which I think she tried to knit on holiday maybe 2 years ago now, and she knit it in these exact yarns, and I fell in love with that and bought the same Knitting for Olive yarns. This is the pure silk in the colors that she used. So I think these are lamb's ears and another sort of beige color that I can't remember the name of right now, and doing it in this very like wide stripe. And the main detail that I wanted to recreate was the beautiful sibling sweater-esque increase sort of panel on the shoulders, which is very typical of her design. And she actually never continued that pattern, so I was never able to sort of knit it from the pattern, anything like that. But what I did do is that I used the Miles T pattern by Ozetta, which is a fingering weight drop shoulder t-shirt pattern, and I just adapted it to sort of include this very wide increase rate to recreate that detail along the shoulders. And this was a massive slog for me. I started knitting it, God, you know, you're getting old. It's really uncomfortable to just sit on the ground. Yeah, I started knitting this in France this year, but fingering weight projects I just cannot do. They are not my skill set. I find it really, really hard to keep motivation on them. But what I did do is that I kept it in the car after I did most of the yoke in France last year, and then for over the winter, to sort of keep myself motivated on it, I kept it in the car as my only car project, and it's been great because it's super mindless knitting, doing the body just over and over again, and yeah, and it just forces me to work on it because I literally have nothing else to work on, so that's great. And yeah, I'm happy to say I thought I was done on the body. I did a fold over hem here, which is why I have this like weird bit of double second stripe. But I think that I may need to knit for longer because I tried it on and it seems a bit short, especially once you start to pull in the neck. But I will, I think, knit the sleeves first before I go back and fix any of that, and maybe also the neck also, and then see how I feel, maybe block it. See how much length needs to be added. I know the pure silk stretches a lot, so I don't want to be too hasty with my ripping back. I'm also very limited on yarn. But anyway, all of this to say that I'm almost done with this project. I feel like it's, well, I say almost done. I have 2 sleeves to do and a collar. But the body was the biggest hurdle, and I see the end is in sight. So once I get this off the needles, I think that another fingering weight Knitting for Olive project, there'll be space in my life for one of those, and I think the typical Thursday top may be it. And then whilst we're on the topic of like sort of vests, I have also mentioned this before, but I have lots of yarn quantities that I think would be good for vests. Ooh, it's getting sweaty in here. This is some Selma permin that I picked up in Copenhagen that I think would make, oh, that smells sheepy. I think that would make a really gorgeous, maybe like a 2x2 or like just a very simple crew neck vest, maybe held with either, I'd originally planned to hold it with a strand of white mohair, but I think I'm kind of mohaired out. I feel like a lot of my projects have been with mohair recently, so yeah, I would really like to knit some things without mohair included, and I think that will make it more wearable for the summer. So maybe this held with another strand of an off-white would make a cute little vest, what are they called? Slip over, something like that. I have 630 meters, so not a lot but I think maybe enough for a DK weight vest if I hold it with something else. And then also kind of sticking with the no mohair theme, when I was packing for my last trip in Porto, I found myself really reaching for something that was just like a grey, light grey, medium grey sweater, jumper, something very simple, something that would go with everything, that would give me an extra layer, and something without mohair. So I was originally planning on using this hand-dyed yarn. This is, I think it's called La Fifi is the hand dyer. I got this off of Vinted. The color name is vitrail, which I think is gorgeous because it means like stained glass window, and it looks like a stained glass window. So yeah, I was originally planning on using this with a mohair to make sort of a DK weight sweater, but I think maybe I might make a grey sweater held with another strand of wool, because I think maybe no mohair is the vibe, so I can wear it really throughout the year. And then I also just picked up this yarn in Porto, Portuguese yarn that's made by the yarn shop that I bought it in. I have a massive haul coming of yarns from Portugal because they were really, really, really good. But this is a very sheepy, very rustic, just grey yarn that I picked up a sweater's quantity of. And I think that this may be held with, this is a fingering weight, held with another fingering weight of grey yarn, which I'm sure I have in stash, I think would make a really nice, just plain, boring jumper that I think would be a good asset in spring, summer, you need an extra layer kind of thing. And then finally, something that I've been meaning to knit for many, many years, I think has been in my, Ravelry queue saves for the longest time, is a summer or like a spring summer dress, which I also think could be quite good for autumn as well. Anna from ATP Anna a long time ago adapted one of the Sandnes Garn booklet t-shirts. I actually think it was maybe this t-shirt. This is one of the Sandnes Garn booklet patterns that I adapted to use with Drops Bell, but I think it's just like a raglan t-shirt, and I believe that at the time she adapted that into a dress, so she just sort of kept knitting for forever to get to sort of a dress length. And I think she did that out of like a light yellow yarn. This was a long, long time ago when I first started knitting. It was something that was really in my, like, not dream knits necessarily, but I think I was just like, I could never bring myself to knit for that long on a dress, and like a midi length dress, so like definitely like almost up to sort of like mid ankle. That was very intimidating to me at the time. Now I'm kind of like, I don't know, you got a t-shirt, so you're not knitting the sleeves. I find the sleeves are super painful. If it's a DK weight and it's in the round, girl, I could knit that forever. So I think maybe this is my time to knit one of those dresses. I don't think I would do raglan. I think actually having a seam or some structure at the top would really help with the weight of the dress, especially if you're adding in lots of wool. Especially if you're knitting it in wool, it will, really feel the weight of that dragging down. So I think I would do a drop shoulder. Also, I just think drop shoulder t-shirts suit me a lot better than raglans do. And yeah, I'd probably do something in DK weight. I thrifted this yarn in a charity shop recently, which is a very old yarn. It's the Jaeger wool silk. Definitely not an eco silk because it's very shiny. Yeah, 60% wool, 40% silk. Really nice composition, which I feel like is less common in sort of like vintage, like 80s kind of yarns. And I have 3 here, but I have 10 of them. These are 20 grams. I don't actually think it says how much is in there, but I think there's about 100 meters per 20 grams. So about 200 meters per 50 grams, thereabout. I think it's a fingering weight. And I have 10 of them. And I think I could hold them with this mohair, which I think is a nice match. This is the Drops Kid Silk in light blue. I think it's light sky blue. It's the number 7. It's the color number 7. No, I think that's a great match. And I think I could hold those together to get to a DK and then make a dress out of them. And you're saying DK, mohair, sweater, dress thing, that doesn't seem practical for spring or summer, but I think it's actually quite a good like city, Dublin city, cold spring day. Like a lot of our spring and like autumn days are sort of, you know, 12 to 17 degrees. And I think that actually would keep me quite toasty whilst also being quite cool. I think, you know, with a cool pair of trainers, style it in a kind of like Acne modern way. Yeah, I'm into it. I initially thought butter yellow, but I think butter yellow is just having its moment, and I just don't know if I'm into it because of that. Yeah, and I think that pretty much recaps everything that I'm like thinking about knitting in the next, I want to say 4 months. It's the middle of May now. I have June, July, August, and then I'm gonna, Cammy, come here. June, July, August, and then I'm gonna lump September in there just because I'll be in France for most of the month and it will essentially just be summer for me. Hi, Cam. For a video filmed outdoors, we didn't get a lot of you. Go on, lie down. Hi. Yeah, so for the next 4 to 5 months or so, I think that's a fair amount of knitting. I feel like these days I'm knitting a lot slower and I'm quite enjoying that. I think, you know, there's something to be said for really perfecting a piece and then having it be like a real big staple in your wardrobe. And I think I'm also really enjoying knitting smaller pieces and smaller accessories and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm gonna definitely stick with that pace of things. So yeah, I think this amount of knitting is almost definitely unrealistic for the time that I have to knit it in, but yeah, always good to have extra inspiration. I will also be knitting another cardigan that I haven't mentioned here, but for my wedding, so I have to sort of bear that in mind as something that will, you know, be happening at the same time as all of this. Yeah, if you haven't seen any of my wedding dress videos, I'm planning on knitting a nice board. I'm planning on knitting a clematis cardigan with a sort of diagonal, maybe some I-cord finishings instead of rib, and yeah, doing that in 2 strands of a Knitting for Olive mohair in some kind of dreamy off-white colour. So yeah, so that's definitely something that will be happening in the next couple of months. But yeah, in the interest of keeping this sweet and simple and short, I will leave it here. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the summer vibes and the birds. I hope I didn't get too burnt out here. And yeah, I hope you have a lovely day wherever you are. What's up, Combs? And I'll see you soon. Bye! Oh my God. Because of the willow trees in our garden, they shed, and these little like blooms of cotton at this time of year just like swirl around. It's very, I mean, they like collect, what's that called? Dust bunnies? No, not even. And it's actually kind of annoying because they collect like little dust bunnies around the house. We just have these little piles of cotton everywhere. It's very beautiful. But yeah, just a bit strange. I think there's literally one sitting on the top of the camera right now. So I keep finding them in my coffee and in my tea, and it's just, yeah.